Okay, here we are back with Chapter 3, Section 6. A little bit of algebra here. This is the second part of 3.6. We're talking about transformations. Yesterday, or in the previous lesson, whenever you watched it, we looked at horizontal translations and vertical translations, along with reflections in the x and the y-axis. I made you a little cheat sheet. Looks like this for horizontal translations, vertical translations, or reflections. All right, and in today's lesson, we are going to look at some transformations. What happens when we multiply? So here we have y equals, the y-intercept is 2, the slope is up 1 over 1, so that's x plus 2. All right, so we want to look at a couple situations. We want to look at what does it look like if I have y equals f times, let's do 2x, and then we'll look at what does it look like if I have y equals 2 times f of x. Okay, those two situations. All right, so if I'm multiplying just the x, then I have y equals, now I'm replacing x with 2x plus 2. So that is y equals 2x plus 2. So then I have still y-intercept of 2, but I go up 2 over 1. So now my slope is steeper. Okay, so that looks like this. And the graph of that looks like this. If we have the multiplication out here, then we have y equals 2 times, and now we have x plus 2. So that gives me 2x plus 4. Y equals 2x plus 4. So now my y-intercept is 4, and the slope is 2. So up 2 over 1, and that would look like this. Okay, notice here that when we multiplied just the x, the y-intercept didn't change. When we multiplied the entire thing, the y-intercept changed from 2 to 4, but the x-intercept did not change. Okay, little tidbit of information there. So, on a generic scheme, the horizontal and stretches and shrinks if we have y equals f times ax. We are multiplying by a scale factor of 1 over a. Okay, so if it's inside the parentheses, remember last time there was also something to pay attention to if the h was inside the parentheses. Okay, so now if that a is inside, we're multiplying by a scale factor of 1 over a. Okay, now notice that here this is a horizontal stretch if we are changing the x value of it. If it's going towards the y, that means it's shrinking. If it's going away from the y, that's stretching it out horizontally. This is stretching it out horizontally. This is shrinking it horizontally. So that is if a is greater than 1, and if a is a fraction, so between 0 and 1, then it stretches it out. That means the slope gets shallower. A vertical stretch is if we're multiplying the entire function by that factor, and then it's getting stretched by the factor of a. So if it's outside the parentheses, that's just the factor. Okay, a factor greater than 1, again, stretches it vertically, and a factor less than 1 shrinks it. That means it squeezes it towards the x-axis. All right, we want to look at this, see, there we go. We have this function right here, x minus 1. We want to graph f of 1/3 x and hx of 3 times f of x and describe the transformations. All right, so we already have the graph set up here. We're going to describe these. Okay, remember, if it's inside the fraction g of x, that is a horizontal. Okay, that is horizontal. And what is this? This is stretched horizontally by a scale factor of, and now remember, if it's inside the parentheses, we're paying attention. We have to flip that, of 3. Okay, because we flip the 1/3. This one here, 3 of x, it's outside the parentheses, so h of x is stretched, t stretched, here, keep forgetting my t's, is stretched vertically, because it's outside, by a scale factor of 3. If it's outside, we just keep it. If it's inside, we flip it. You can look what that looks like here. All right. Okay. The shrinks. All right. Here we have g of x, and it's graphed down here. If you're looking at it, you can see, okay, this is inside the parentheses, so that means we're affecting the x. This is shrunken. We haven't stretched it out in the x direction. We've pushed it closer to the y, so it's shrunken. So g of x is a horizontal shrink by a scale factor of, and it's inside the parentheses, so it's 1/4. Okay, it's a shrink if it's a fraction. Here, this is outside the parentheses, so we can already see 1/4, that's a shrink. H of x is a vertical shrink by a scale factor of 1/4. And that's what that looks like. All right, if we want to combine them, we need to know our little cheat sheet here. All right, we need to know all this good stuff right here. We want to combine these. Now we have this wonderful function. Now we're starting out with f of x is equal to x. Okay, so that means in this I can replace x with f of x. So I'm going to rewrite that. G of x is equal to -2 times f of x, because x is the same as f of x, plus 3. Okay, now let's see what happened to it. Let's go through our list. Okay, we'll check them off as we go. We've got this right here. We're adding something to it. All right. We are multiplying on the outside of the parentheses, so this is happening. We've got a negative going on here too, outside of the parentheses, so this is happening too. All right, so this is being translated vertically. Okay, so moved up. This means moved up 3 units, or translated vertically 3. This means multiplied outside the parentheses. If it's outside the parentheses, we could take it at face value. So it is stretched vertically, by a scale factor of 2. and then the negative, remember that's this right here, means it is reflected across the x-axis. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. That's what these mean. So if I want to look at what that looks like on a graph, I have the original function, then I have it stretched, reflected across the axis, and then we have it translated. Okay, or you could go at in a different order. There you go. That's what we end up with. All right, I know that was a lot to digest, so there we go. Look over your notes, and we will have more fun next time.